Good evening, everyone. And most importantly, my wonderful guest, Mr. John Zaffis. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good, good. I know I'm cheesing, but I'm a little excited and happy that you're with us tonight. So,
Oh, glad to be here.
I know I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Like I was before we came on, I was telling John I could probably talk to him for like days about everything that he's accomplished. So I kind of want to get into it a little bit, instead of BSing and whatever. But I want to just because there's probably so much that we could talk about. And but anyways, I want to get into it. I finally was able to put my big girl pants on and ask John here to come on my show. For a really long time, I have wanted to, and I was nervous. And you really took all that nervousness away in the 1 second that we were talking. I mean, you're awesome, and I appreciate you for being so kind and open and welcoming, and I mean, it was literally one of the easiest shows I could schedule. So I thank you for that, first of all.
Oh, you're welcome. You're very welcome. I don't, you and I, we could talk a little bit about that because here again, it's talking a little bit about things we don't. Oh my gosh, you got a lot of the old timers coming on here. A lot of people I know here. Cool. Yeah. I mean, it said to me that you felt a little intimidated in, talking or approaching. And I went, why? And, and you and I were talking and I go, and I was telling you, don't do that with people, approach somebody, you talk to somebody. They don't want to talk to you. The heck with them. That's how I look at it. Because, I am very fascinated by a lot of very famous people and stuff like that. And if I seen them or something, I would, hey, talk to them and go, I like this or I like that. And if they didn't want to talk or something, I'd be like, oh, no biggie. And I would walk away. So, best way to look at it.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, that intimidating or the intimidation just literally went away the second we started talking. I mean, it felt like I knew you for years, I mean, I have known you, but know you, so I appreciate that. So let's get into it. Let's get into stuff. For those of you that are watching, I mean, I'm sure you guys are all here because you know who John Zaffis is, but I want to get into the beginning and how you got into what you did and, doing more there's not a lot of people out there that they'll say they're demonologists and stuff like that, but you never know 100%, all this, if they're telling the truth, because people just add stuff to their titles nowadays,
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of just want to start at the beginning and we can just take the conversation as it goes, whatever comes up. I know you got started young.
Yeah.
And go ahead. You go ahead. Take the floor.
Well, yeah, how I really I got involved with it or anything, believe it or not, I was not a believer as a kid. But when I was 15, 16, at that point in time is when everything changed. Now, my grandmother had lived with us, my mother's mom. Now, Ed and my mom were twins. A lot of people never knew that, but they were very, very, very different people. You said ghost to my mother, she'd start freaking crying. She wanted not. She was petrified of the paranormal. She really was.
Yeah.
So, anyways, at one point in time, I went down. It was a Wednesday night, and I was telling my mom, I said, it was a figure at the foot of my bed. It was shaking its head back and forth. And she just looked at me. She goes, well, did it say or do anything? I said, no, it just shook its head. She goes, well, Johnny, that was your grandfather, my father. And I go, well, Ma, how do you know that? You know,
Right.
like that. And she goes, he never would really say too much. He was a very stern man. And he would just always shake his head back and forth. But what triggered the whole thing was my grandmother passed away a few days afterwards.
Oh,
So that made me start to think because you know we would always hear all these stories about deceased loved ones coming back when to help somebody cross over and move forward. And again, that made me really think. I went, there's got to be something to this.
right.
So then my mother said to me, she goes, well, make sure you tell my brother. So because now they lived about 20 minutes north of us.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when my mom would cook stuff, she would say, go bring it up to him.
Right.
Now you got to remember, I grew up in that time framing when I was 15 years old and, we had our permit. We were allowed to drive all over the place. I was a very good driver by the time I turned 16. So driving all over when I was 15. But
Right.
anyhow, I would bring food up, drop it off. And a lot of times it would be just, hey, we're going to go work, do this or go do that. You want to go with us? I'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool. And I would go with them.
Yeah.
And get involved and see different things and witness different things. And it was, cool and interesting like that.
So
And my mom,
did
go
you
ahead.
start off when they were taking you? Was it always the negative cases and stuff like that you were
No,
seeing? Okay.
no. Yeah. A boundary of different things. That's the only way I could put it to you.
Cool.
I mean, we'd go work on cases, especially if there was something local. There was one case we worked on and it had to do with the little girls. Remember the tin doll houses they used to have in the 50s?
Yeah.
Okay, it had to do with that, and it was causing a haunting. I worked on another case with them, just went with them. A woman collected these little statues. She bought this one and added it to the collection. She claimed it was moving and everything like that. So, Ed and Lorraine had taken it out, and we were driving back home, and my uncle throws it into the back seat of the car. He goes, you want that, kid? I go, what the hell am I going to do with that? But what it ended up doing was basically getting me to think about it. And he would do this with a lot of stuff. So, what did I do back in that time framing was went and picked up books because we didn't have the internet. We didn't have stuff. We had nothing. So then I would go up, I go, what? I picked a couple of books up and I can't get over the different haunted items out there. And he would just start laughing. But, later on in life, I looked at it and I went, he used to do that on purpose because he knows I would go poke to see what I could find out.
Yeah.
So, and that's what intrigued me. And that's what got me going. And one of the most famous, notoriously known haunted items, and people never really stop to think about it, is the Hope Diamond. Think about that. Again, we call it's alleged to be cursed, but again, it's still considered a haunted item.
Really? I never knew that was considered a cursed.
The Hope Diamond, absolutely, yeah. The last person that purchased it had to. Look up. The story is phenomenal.
Oh wow! Never
everybody that had it, anybody that purchased it was very wealthy people, and all kinds of tragedies would happen. This last millionaire purchased it and donated it. I believe it was the Smithsonian, so that it would never cause any problems for anybody else.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool story. Real cool story. So, but I mean, there's things out there that that have been around that were haunted that people just never heard about. A chair over in England, people sat in it and they would die.
Wow.
So yeah, and it was in a local pub, so it was pretty cool and pretty interesting.
Do you think that's why you then years later, Haunted Collector was kind of like that's what you just started doing because that was one of the first things that you were doing when you started, working with your aunt and uncle and stuff like that? Like, see?
No. What ended up happening was that it was supposed to be similar to American Pickers.
Oh,
Frank and Mike. It was supposed to do something like that. Then it evolved into what it was because as we started talking and getting involved with different things and, it just kept evolving. So and the final result, which happens with a lot of the shows, not just paranormal ones, but all of them. But
Right.
anyhow, it got into all that, and that's what came out of it. So it was interesting because it broke ground because I was the first person to ever do that.
Yeah.
And I kept saying it's going to be very controversial. And, people are going to go, make all kinds of stuff up like they do with everything.
Right.
But wow, look at it today. Everybody collects haunted items.
Right.
Different people do different things with them. So it really developed into quite the industry. I'm friends with several people that collect haunted items, and it's cool because it's got to continue. It's still got to go on.
Yeah.
So, I help them out every once in a while, some of them, and do what I can out there to keep that going and watch that legacy just keep going and going with haunted items.
The show was great. I used to watch it. I remember too, to stick out in my mind was when you guys found the pistol under the front deck.
Yep.
That was cool. And then there was another one. I don't know if I remember what the item, like exactly what it was, but I feel like you guys found either a necklace or a bracelet or a pendant somewhere in the house. Oh,
there was one in a fire station that was a pendant. If a brooch type thing, if I'm remembering
maybe that's
correctly.
what it was. Maybe
it was in the upper part of the bedrooms and stuff. So that might be the one. Yeah. But it was cool and everything. We did it for 3 years, and by the end of 3 years, everybody was tired, and everybody wanted to take a break and everything like that, which was cool and stuff like that. Then it came back in reruns, which, I busted out laughing on Travel Channel because I started hearing from the executives and everything and going, you're getting better numbers now in the reruns than you did when it originally aired. So that was cool. That was super cool. And it kept it kept people a little bit interested in it. So
that's
it was
awesome.
cool.
It was a good show. It was a good show.
Oh, thanks. Good people on it too.
Yeah. No, yeah. It was awesome. I mean, it you guys did get some good evidence, and you never really think about that part because a lot of the places you guys would go, like there were already teams that have gone in there to try to help people and this and that, and this stuff just continued,
Yep.
So I mean, I thought that was an interesting approach, and it solved a lot of the people's issues, which was a good thing.
See, that's important. I'm glad you're bringing that up because not only is it you go in and you investigate, but you want to try to find some type of resolution. It's not about continuously going back at EVPs, getting pictures, getting this, getting that. Because I know a lot of people do that. And to me, I don't know. I've never been like that. I like to go in, find out what's going on. Okay, do they want closure? Do they want to move forward in breaking the cycle of it? Or do they want to continue it? Which is it's a very popular thing today. A lot of people like having haunted houses.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. Yep.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't. A lot of investigations that I do that are residential today, a lot of them they don't want to talk about it. They don't want nobody to know about it. And I'm like, people really just don't care. Then you got the other people I'll go to help, and they get aggravated because I don't have a film crew with me. Where's the film crew? And I'm like, do you want help or, which is it? Then we'll take it from there. Then is all they want is that, to get it verified or something, that there's something going on. All right, fine. As long as you're upfront with me, I'm cool with that. I don't care.
Is there certain criteria, John, that you will go in yourself, or do you have people that, help you and will go in, if you know what I mean? Like, do certain cases take precedence where you're like, okay, I got to go to this place myself?
Okay. What, today, well, not really necessarily just today, but, since Ed went down, a lot of things had shifted over the years, where a lot of different clergy members that he would work with started contacting me, and I would start working with them. And there's still a few that are still alive, and I still help them out, or some of the people that they've trained, I help out. And those are types of situations where I'm very careful and guarded, because not just necessarily priests, but other spiritual people, even, Native American, they don't want all these paranormal people around. They don't want to get involved with a lot of that. So will I go in, do what I need to do to find out, get a hold of them and say, hey, a lot of times they'll refer me and say, Johnny, will you check it out for me to see if it's legit or not? I'll gladly do that for them.
Yeah.
And you get it resolved. You do what you have to do, and they go back in and do their things. Everything gets done. Kumbaya. Everybody moves on.
That's awesome. I'm gonna divulge this information. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not, but I won't give specifics. However, I have been a part of a research, or I guess a research and like like a project for a couple of people for skeptics, where I'm getting mailed a haunted object, 4 haunted objects, supposed haunted objects. I have to put it in my house, and I have to just every day I have a notebook, and every day I have to write if anything in the end, if my house has changed, if the energy feels different, if there anything has happened, and I have a tough time with clowns, as do a lot of people. And the first item was that, and then the second item was like just a little car. Yes, that is you. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to say. This is
Who is it?
He's the one running this. There's 4 of us. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Only one is alleged to be haunted. So there's 4 items. We keep it. I think there's 4 people involved with this that they mailed.
Cool.
And we all switch. We don't know who the other people are. And
yeah.
I get one item, and then the next, and we have it for a month, and we're writing down anything that's happened or occurred, and we mail it back. And once, 4 people, he says, yeah. And then once we get it all back, they're gonna put all the data together, everything that we've said, and you know what I mean, and see what they get. So I thought all 4 of them were alleged haunts. So only one is. Right now, I have a little Buddha.
All right.
And I'm like, I can't be upset about a Buddha. They're supposed to be good luck, right? So
yeah, they're supposed to be, but you also have to remember with certain things. Now, to me, I have several different Buddhas, and there's energy attached to it, but it doesn't mean it's negative. I don't look at it that way. But what I do look at it is that, okay, that Buddha, somebody might have picked it up, brought it in their house, and it just started, activity got kicked in because it could have been used, as a main focus for a person's belief system, their belief system and things of, that nature. And it triggered energy and triggered a haunting. So thus, looking at it, from those different perspectives.
Yeah.
So again, possibility, but again, people, I laugh, people say, oh, I don't like going to any antique malls or stores or anything, because 99% of the antique malls out there don't have anything in them. We deal with the ones that do. I know people, their houses are loaded with antiques. They've never had a problem.
Not me. I'm an antiquer. I really am.
Yeah. So again, I look at it very openly with a lot of things, and I'll go, it's not unusual. We end up dealing with the things where, there's issues, there's problems, and, hi, Lords, congratulations, Grandma.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, it's always cool like that when all your friends start going on and getting on there. I love it. So again, but see, now you never thought to think about it that way about the Buddha, did you?
No.
See?
Oh,
Yeah.
now the energy in my house might shift. Yeah, I mean, I have some pretty cool, like I have a bayonet.
Mm-hmm.
And bayonet has been, like, I remember reading that they used to stamp when they went into wars and stuff like that. So it is stamped a lot.
Okay.
And there's stains all over it. I don't want to clean it. I don't want to do anything with it.
No, don't.
Hanging on my wall with a Civil War certificate mustering this a lieutenant into the Civil War from New Jersey. So I have it on display and stuff like that. And I've never gotten it looked at or anything like that, but I've never had anything that I know of. I've never had anything bad come up from it. You know what I mean? Like, and a lot of people, I remember somebody held it one time and they were like, oh, this has like there's like a lot of death on here, and you don't know. I mean, people could just say that, and so you try not to let that get into your head, because if it gets into your head and you take it into your house, you're like, oh my gosh,
power of suggestion. Yep.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah. do your cases tend to be more on the side of the power of suggestion, or do you find that most of your cases are like legit and they come to you and you actually find something that is an issue?
I'd say it's about 50-50. All right. Because again, this comes from the foundation of being taught, and whether it's a case or an item, a house, land, the things occur. And I still can remember sitting down one day with my uncle, and I go, "The house isn't haunted," and he goes, "But that doesn't mean there isn't an issue going on." And I would look at him and go, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "John, if somebody believes strong enough that they got a haunted item or a haunted house, it's going to be haunted."
Right.
He said, not necessarily legitimately, but they're going to believe that it's happening. And again, he goes, so never go in and start telling people, no, you're not experiencing something and it's not happening, or it's not a haunted item. He said, because you don't really know that. We have no way of knowing those things. Well, I mean, a little bit better now with our equipment and stuff. But again, always look at it with that perspective. Well, okay, you might go into an investigation 3 or 4 different times, and you might not have nothing happen. Boom, you can go back one other time, and you could have all kinds of activity, start to occur.
Right.
So it's like that with the haunted items too, because a lot of my medium friends and psychic friends like that, I love when they touch the things, they come over and they, say, well, I go, yeah, knock your socks off. I'm curious to see what you get.
Yeah.
And, if they pick up on something or something's related to them, I would tell them. And then if, they're totally out to lunch on it, I tell them that too. And I go, it's got nothing to do with that. I don't know what you're picking up on, but it has nothing to do with that. I won't exactly say it like that, but
yeah.
But again, it's the nature of it when it comes into, again, I say paranormal, but really the supernatural, the unknown.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. Going back to Mom real quick, I know I kind of cut you off there in a moment, but I wanted to ask too, like, when you went to her with that information, because she was afraid of you said she was afraid of it.
Petrified.
And I was too before I had my first experience. I was too. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was like, I would watch the shows and I would read stuff and look up stuff, but I slept with my back to my room, a nightlight on, the music playing. So I didn't hear, see, feel, I didn't want to have an experience. I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
And, so when you went to her, was she frightened that you saw that?
Oh yeah.
Did it freak her out? But then knowing that it was her father?
Correct. Her father.
Did she feel better that did
no.
that? Oh,
she didn't want, no. She didn't want nothing in the house. Family or not, she didn't want no dead people in the house. Yeah, she would say, I don't want nothing in here. I don't want to deal with any of this. And because I have a wicked sense of humor. I always have. And I turned to look at her, I go, but that's your father. And she goes, I don't care who it is. I don't want them here. And then, she did say to me, she said, that's a bad omen. That's a bad omen. And I go, well, why are you saying it's a bad omen? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Then my grandmother passed away. So I thought about it afterwards on how she related to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She took that as a sign that something was getting ready to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, you didn't have to be psychic to know my grandmother was getting ready to pass away. She was dying from cancer. But again, it's the nature of it.
Yeah. Did something happen to where it she got?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. When her and Ed were little, they lived in a haunted house. So, and they would hear a guy coming up the stairs. They would hide under their beds and they would get freaked out and all these crazy things would happen. My uncle used to talk about it all the time when they were kids. They live in a haunted house. But that encouraged him to go get involved with the paranormal, and it scared her to death where she wanted nothing to do with it. So it was weird.
Yeah.
And, I would even say to her at different times, I go, Ma, what exactly? I don't want to talk about it. She would start crying and she'd go ask my brother, go ask my brother. And she wouldn't talk about it. Wow. She would not. And it was the craziest thing because I would say to my uncle, I go, I asked her and she won't tell me anything. He would start laughing. He goes, oh, she's a big baby. She's scared of all this shit. So, and that's exactly what he would say. Because
Oh,
there was one time we were, all there and we were talking, and he looked at her and he goes, hey, he goes, why won't you tell the kid about what we went through when we were kids? And she was like, shut up, Warren, because that was his real name. She would just go, shut up, Warren, don't even bring it up.
oh,
And all of us would bust out laughing. We would just start laughing.
oh my God,
Uh,
that's great.
yeah.
So that's interesting though, that those two, so how did she feel when you started working with your uncle?
Okay. This is where it was kind of strange and weird because my uncle always said that he always felt that I was going to get involved with the paranormal. How the hell he knew it? But so, anyways, when I started doing that and I'd go with them and everything like that, she would get upset and, blah, 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 and stuff like that. Then one day we were just talking and I was going back and forth. And, I said, well, Ma, I think, I'd like to do some of this stuff. And she got very quiet and she looked at me. She says, well, she says, if you're going to do it, I'd rather you're with my brother than anybody else. So I looked and I went, wow. I went, because she had such an intense look on her
Yeah.
face with the whole thing,
And such a passion, against like not wanting anything, you know what I mean? Not anything. I mean, I'm sure, Ed probably, told her stuff that happened along the years, you know what I mean? And stuff that could happen or stuff that's happened to him or
Oh,
things.
yeah. Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
No.
For her to have such a infinity for how she felt about it. And then for her to say, go ahead, I'd rather, and that's very smart of her as well.
Well, because I was a crazy kid in the 70s, anyways. She knew I was going to get involved with something. She wanted to make sure I didn't end up getting involved with, anything too crazy or too wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, again, she knew I was going to poke around with it. She knew he would at least try to keep me a little bit on the straight and narrow on what I got involved with.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you could have a worse passion or addiction, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other than and doing this, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
So okay, so you know what? There's a couple questions in there that were people were. So let's just get to those really quick, and then we can get back to talking.
Okay.
Is John still planning to open a museum with his haunted items?
I hope so. I keep looking, I keep searching. The biggest problem is, people say, well, go out in the outskirts or something like that. When you open up a type of business like that, that's a touristy type attraction thing. So it's got to be in an area where people are going to come to it. Now, unfortunately, with that comes along the price tag. Now, Mystic, Connecticut is one of my most favorite places. I've been looking and looking for years and years, but it's millions of dollars to buy a piece of property in some of these places.
Yeah.
So I have two realtor friends. One, she's a sweetheart. She sends me so many pieces of property. The other thing is, you have to also realize with that, you have to go through zoning. You have to go through, the town meetings. You get one person that bunks something, you're shut right down. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Again, well, if it's a commercial piece of property, you should be able to do whatever you want. No,
Yeah.
you can't. You just can't do whatever you want. You have to go through zoning, get licensed, and everything else. So,
I mean, and how do you have any documented paperwork and stuff like that on haunted items, and then presenting that to a bunch of professional people that are, like
this is hysterical. This one about 2 years ago, it was an antique mall, right? But they had a lot of open areas, and one of the floors was open, and he was renting out. And I was like, how cool would that be, right?
Yeah.
So I was going through the process. One of my buddies hooked me up with him. He knew him. And I'm on the phone talking to him and everything. And he says to me, he goes, well, what is it, the type of business that we're talking about and everything like that? I go, well, haunted items. He goes, excuse me? He goes, haunted. I said, haunted items, things that I removed. And I explained everything to him. He was real quiet. And he goes, oh, he said, I don't think I could allow that in the mall. And I go, why? He goes, that might affect my other tenants. I might get sued. And I went, wow. I'm like, okay, here goes a whole new ball of wax hair now, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So
yeah.
it's amazing that, a lot of different things occur and happen. But I'm still looking. I'm currently looking at a couple of other pieces of property that just got sent over to me by the young lady that she keeps looking, and great person looking at pieces of property for me. So
Do you
I
ever
keep
think about
looking. Hopefully,
do you ever think about just like maybe and I'm forgive me, I'm not, but like maybe buying a small piece of land and building like a like something, you know what I mean, that would outfit your stuff? Would you,
yes.
and you still have to get
You have to go through. Because I checked into two pieces of property that were very reasonable. They were commercial pieces of property, and I went to zoning and to check on the regulations and everything. it, the piece of property alone was a couple $100,000, but between the rules and regulations for putting the building up, it would have cost me $1 million just to put up a
oh wow.
brick and mortar 4 wall building. You have to do a sprinkler system. You have to do this. You have to. It was like my mind was mind boggled
Wow.
over the restrictions and everything that they have today. I mean, geez, whatever happened to the good old days? Somebody would just throw a building up and open up and have a store. You can't do stuff like that no more today. But
I mean, you
uh,
you want to do it in Connecticut, right? So you would never look outside of the state. Like, what if the rules
I have.
are different? Oh, okay.
No, I have. Again, I've looked in Virginia. I've looked in North Carolina, several other places too. But in the commercial areas where people are going to go, and you're going to be able to attract people. Okay, perfect example here is like Zach Bagans. His museum is one of the biggest tourist attractions in Las Vegas.
Oh,
Perfect
okay. Yeah.
perfect location, perfect environment, perfect everything. So therefore, smart move on his part that he was able to do it there and get it to rock and roll. So
Yeah.
again, that's what I'm saying. There's so many different ways to look at things and the way things have to be put together. But hopefully, before I turn into a ghost, I'll get it done.
Oh, well, that's interesting. You should say it because Megan, one of my peaches, says, "What item would John want to haunt when he passes?"
I don't really think there's anything I want to haunt. It's a running joke with me because everybody says, "Oh, you're going to make one of the best ghosts out there and everything." I says, "I hope not." And they'll go, "Well, why do you say that?" I go, "Are you freaking kidding me? I've been doing this for 50 some odd years. You think I'm interested in haunting anything? I don't want to be bothered."
What about a
And
place? What about a place?
again, too, and like everybody says, yeah, if you think we're going to let you rest, you're out of your freaking mind.
Oh yeah. Oh my god.
So, it's a
I
running
can't
joke
imagine all
and
the
all that.
spirit box sessions that'll come out after that.
Oh, God.
I know. Believe me, I'm not. I don't use them, and I
But
don't.
that's okay. It'll still keep me relevant.
Listen, you're a legend and an icon. You're always you've left a legacy behind, and you've done so much for the field. First of all, and you'll always be relevant no matter what. That's my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Um, John, can you sense if something is attached to an object?
Yes. Now, do I consider myself a psychic or a medium or anything? No, because a running joke with me is, when somebody says that to me, if they put their hand out and read my palm, give me a reading, I bust out laughing because I I wouldn't be any good at it or anything like that. I mean, I'll joke around sometimes and go, I can't tell you what I just saw, and they'll go, Johnny, but I don't see it. But all joking aside, I you do develop that sense when you go in to haunted locations. You get creeped out. You pick up different types of vibrations. It's the same thing when I walk in two different places and I'll look at something and go, oh, that's creepy. Must be something, some type of energy or something attached to it.
Mhm.
So from that perspective, yeah, I will say that I think you could say all of us have the ability to
And
do
you
that.
feel
But I think women more than men, because
mhm.
women pick up on all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's why, a running story with me is this one lady picked up this Indian statue. She brought it home, had all kinds of activity and everything. She goes, but John, when I was holding it in the antique store, I felt creeped out. And I go, then what did you buy it for? If you were creeped out,
Right,
don't buy
right.
it. You use that 6 cents for everything else. Use it for that too.
Yeah, I would. And if I'm creeped out by something, I'm walking on by. That's for sure.
Oh,
Um, what was I was going to ask you something, then I got sidetracked. Or my brain. I have ADHD, so it's like it's you know. Oh, I was going to ask you something. What is, I don't know if favorite is the right word, but what is your most prized or favorite item you have?
probably, and it really shouldn't be, but the one thing that means the most to me is this little virgin statue. Now, if you look, the hands are burnt off of it, melted off of it, not burned. Now, this comes from the haunting in Connecticut.
Oh,
When I don't feel that it's anything negative that's associated with it or anything. I mean, it's just a plastic statue. But, anyways, the day the exorcism was being done, there were 3 Roman Catholic priests. They had, put these different icons out throughout the house. And one of the priests went to go retrieve this out of the living room and he screeched. And we all ran in there, and he goes, "Look at the Mary statue. The hands are melted off of it. No, nobody wanted to touch it. Nobody.
yeah.
So it got left there. But anyways, everything got done, and it was like weird because maybe about a year or 2 years later, I remember I was with my uncle and everything like that, and he looked at me. He goes, "Do you got the Mary statue?" And I go, "No, I thought you had it." He goes, "No." And, I never thought too much of it because after everything got said and done with the haunting in Connecticut, Carmen and Al moved down south and they didn't want to get involved with anything till the kids were all grown. So, anyways, um, years later, after her son finished up school and everything, she got involved, and that's when they did the documentary and the movie. And Carmen says, "I got something for you." Her and I were out lecturing, and she pulled it out of her pocketbook, unwrapped this piece of paper, and there was the Mary statue. I said, "All these years, we often wondered what happened to that." She goes, "No, I kept it all these years." She goes, "Now you got your own haunted barn on your property, so you can have it and put it in there." And I said, "Well, I call her Auntie Car. That's my Auntie Carm, and
Aw.
and that's my Southern Belle." So I've always called her my Southern Belle ever since we met and everything because when she starts talking, and again, it's a cool thing. But anyhow, that's probably one out of the maybe 15, 16 different things that means something to me. Value
Okay.
wise, I don't really care. Or it doesn't,
Right.
or,
Yeah.
I have personal different things from associations with things that my uncle had given me. And I don't even bring them out to the forefront or anything of that nature because they're things that are personal and just happen to mean something to me.
Right.
So,
So you were involved with the haunting in Connecticut?
yes,
Okay.
9.5 weeks.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
And I mean, I can't imagine, I know a lot of people that who have said that they've experienced stuff and it literally, changes the way they look at life after
Hmm.
they have some of I'm sure if I was there and the Statue of Mary, the hands are burned off or what melted off, that's literally, I can't even imagine witnessing that firsthand and seeing, or at least knowing that that occurred, whether or not you saw it or not, but knowing that occurred somehow an unexplainable phenomena, it would definitely keep me up for a few days. Like,
See, that's what intrigues me with our
yeah,
field is that we have too many unexplains.
yes,
There isn't anything I haven't seen or witnessed. I mean, and people will often, say that to me. Well, what does that do? I go, it alters you. Okay, you see a person levitate. You might have heard stories about a person getting levitated or, you know, and stuff like that. Those are stories, but when you see it, that changes you because now it's a part of your reality because you
right,
experienced it. Now the levitation was only 4 inches up off of a chair, out of a chair, but it occurred and it happened. And it was just like 2 or 3 days later, I just went, wow. I'm one of those types of people when anything's occurring and happening, I don't react right away. 2 or 3 days later, I'll go, holy shit. I just, and I'll call everybody up and they'll go, Johnny, it's 3 days late. And now a lot of the people are used to, especially, my spiritual friends and everything. And I go, did we really see that? Did that really happen?
Yeah.
And they're going, yeah. But that's the way I register with a lot of things. And again,
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's, I totally don't. What was your first case you were involved in? Was that on the negative side of things? Did that make you that brought you more? You were more intrigued, or you were like, how did you feel after experiencing? What was your first, if you can remember? I know it's been, but
it's so sad, kiddo. Some of the most monumental things that, unless somebody triggered. Actually, one of my buddies recently just triggered my memory about a case 30 years ago, and I go, I don't remember any of that, and he goes, man, how could you forget all that? I go, dude, so many cases I've been involved with that, a lot of times you just don't. Anyways, I think what was one of the most monumental things that I took a step back from and I took a look at it was I was hanging with Ed and Lorraine, and they had a couple of other people with them. I just had gone with them. And they were doing a spirit communication. And at that point in time, I don't know, to this day, I remember it, but Lorraine kept saying that it was very negative, but it didn't have nothing to do with the family. And we had all kinds of crazy activity going on, and, some bizarre things started happening in there. And I remember it. I can't remember where the hell we even were at this point now.
Right.
I remember it, and it made me start thinking. I remember, on the ride home, the car, we were all very quiet. And I remember we went to get out of the car, and I turned and looked at them, and I go, what the F happened in that house? And it's all as Lorraine did was bust out laughing. And she goes, that was a haunting, dear.
Oh.
Like that. And my uncle goes, ha, 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 ha. And he just starts laughing, and I'm like, what am I getting involved with here? Right? But, again, that was an opening to some of the stuff that got involved with. To witness something that was way up on the scale, that would, be the haunting in Connecticut. Because there were three different experiences I had in there with what we would refer to as something fully formed.
Right.
And that's what, 35 years ago, I think it is, somewhere around there, yeah?
But I can't imagine something like that being a distant memory. Like, to me, that would be like burned in my brain going through that,
See, with me, I try to, when I walk away from something, I walk away from it.
Right.
And I've always been told that's been one of my best. My uncle used to say that all the time too. He goes, "That's one of your best assets, John." He said, "You just walk away from stuff." And when I say that to my wife, she goes, "No, you're a typical guy with selective memory." So I don't know, but
that makes sense though, because from what I've learned, and again, I don't deal with negative cases or anything like that, but what I've learned is that you want to let go of that. You don't want to hold on to it. You don't want it to swimmer around inside your brain and give it much thought. Like, you kind of want to just cut the cord, or let it go, so to speak, if you will. So that is good, especially that's primarily what you dealt with. Right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Can I just ask this question? So I don't know how to say this without.
Oh, just say it.
Okay. So with all of the entertainment we have now, right? And it all focuses on stuff being demonic and negative and this and that. In your career, I granted, I understand like that's what you mostly dealt with, but is it that much? Is there that much around where, all these shows and all these people and, the YouTubes and stuff like that, like everywhere they go, there's something demonic or something negative. I mean, is that, do you find that to be true, or did you?
No, no.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, Now, again, coming from my training and looking at a lot of this, I remember so many different cases we would do that were human spirit cases that were absolutely dynamite stories. And I remember one day I was sitting and we were going back and forth, and I go, my uncle, I go, you never talk about all these cases, with some of these beautiful things that we've experienced with human spirit. And he goes, nobody wants to hear it. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, you sit there and start talking about these ghosts and Casper the ghost and things like that. He goes, people are going to get up and walk out. You say possession and demon, and everybody tunes right in. And he's right. He's to this day, and that's 40 years ago that man said that to me. He goes, you could do a whole lecture on human spirits, the intervention of the divine, the angelic, and everything like that. He said, people will say they like it and everything like that. He said, but you start talking about a person being possessed or demons and Satan coming up through the floorboards, people are going to pay attention to you. And it's a very, very true statement. But, the cases, because I believe very strongly in the angelic and the angels. I have no doubt. But do they walk around, with these fluffy wings and a halo? No. Angels are nothing like that. They're very big and they're so bright. And again, this is how I perceive it and look at it, is they come in, kick ass, do their job, and they're out. Yeah. This is how it works. And I've seen it happen several times where, these things occur, and it's just mind-blowing, because then afterwards it makes you take that step back and realize that there's so much we don't understand, and so much that, we try to comprehend and register, because people will often say to me, well, you have all the answers for everything. No, I don't.
Right.
I just am more accepting, because there's so much we don't know. And as we move forward, I'll honestly say over the past good, 10 some odd years, with all the equipment and the different things all these guys come up with, it's helping to document so much. So much is getting recorded and so much is, there. But the one thing that, again, I always tell everybody, because when somebody calls and says, I'm working on a case, but I got no scientific, evidence. What scientific evidence? What are you telling me? And they'll go, well, what do you mean, John? I got no EVPs. I got no, hot cold spots or anything. And I go, that doesn't mean you're not dealing with a haunting.
Right.
Okay. Right. And I go, okay, that's good that you're using all the equipment. Document everything, because in the future we might be able to use that. And they'll go, what do you mean? I go, if you can't chart something and get repeatability, it's not scientifically proven out.
Right.
That's a fact. Now, right. I come from an engineering background in the pharmaceutical. So think of that now, used to make and now I'm out chasing freaking Casper the ghost. Go figure. But it's amazing to look at all that and everything. So, and I'm very honest with everybody. 3/4 of the equipment, I'm very intrigued by it. I look at it. I wouldn't even know how to turn half of this freaking stuff on anymore.
I'm with you.
So I watch everybody else do it, and I'm very intrigued. I'm very, very interested in all of it, and the different things that get proven out, and some of the activity and some of the things that get recorded. That's the best part of our work, that they're doing that. But don't rule out the original intent and purpose of going into a location is to find out what's happening.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and then it's funny because I watch some of these videos I'll catch, where people are in places and they're thinking it's a demon, it's demonic, and I'm thinking, man, if I was a demon and somebody was like portraying me this way, I would be mad. I'm like, that's not how I do it. Like, that's not what I do. Like, you're making,
Well,
um,
you know what a key factor, with this. Now I'm going to share this, and I usually won't go too deep into my demonology work, but usually when the demonic is infiltrating or doing what it needs to do for its bidding and everything else, it's going to be quiet and it's going to be reserved because it doesn't want to get exposed at that point in time
right.
until it gets its foothold. So when somebody's running into a place and screaming, "Ah, Satan's coming up through the floor right away," I'm like, it doesn't go that way. It doesn't usually happen that way. So
Right.
you have to, take that step back, but also too, you know, over the past several years between the TV shows and all the blogging and all these other things, I mean, it it's unbelievable. Did I ever think we'd ever see this? No, I
Right.
honestly did not ever
Right.
think we'd see it to the point of where it is now with all the shows and
Right.
the different things. It's amazing the
Yeah.
acceptance of it.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, even I drove past, there's a house in my town and it was up for sale. And it literally, I know this was like a meme going around on Facebook, but it literally said not haunted. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm like, well, I would skip that house, right?
Yeah. Here's a good thing that again, I don't usually talk about this. I have several very, very good friends that are realtors.
Yes.
And sometimes they'll do listings and they'll book things. I'll get a telephone call, Johnny, would you come over here? And I'll go, what? What do you want me to tell you? And they're going, if there's shit in this house, I am not listing it. I don't want no part of this, right? And I'm like, oh, I don't like to do that, because the poor people are trying to sell their house. The realtor don't want nothing to do with it. I know realtors that there are certain houses they won't even go into them.
Yeah.
They won't even show them. They want no part of them.
Yeah.
They feel like they're going to get jinxed
Yeah.
if So it's weird how all that works and how it plays out.
I mean, I
So
think this is, I always said like I would always like I used to say like, oh, I should work with a realtor, right? And then this only happened when I recently was looking for a house, and I was like, we could call it home is where the haunt is, and like you work with a realtor, you just go into houses and see what you can find or whatever, and because there's a market out there for people that want to buy haunted houses now. Because when we were looking for houses, I started to get confused of what we looked at, and when we were trying to like decide what house we liked, whatever. So I started to video as we went through the houses so I could remember. And we went through this really old Victorian house, which I loved. And I was walking, I opened up a door to walk up the steps, and I went back and I was watching the video. And when I did that, as I was getting to the top of the steps, you hear, close the door. It was a whisper, but there was an EVP, and they were like, come, shut the door, like close the door.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
texted my realtor. I was like, dude, I was like, ask the people that own that place, because they're living in Florida. They were just trying to sell the house. I was like, ask him if I'll rent a night there. Please let me investigate. He's like, what are you talking about? I sent him the clip. He's like, I'm not going back in that house. You're out of your mind. Like, what is that? They were totally freaked out. So yeah.
Okay, I just clicked all right. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing any of the comments. Now I'm seeing them.
There's a lot.
I was seeing them pop up on the screen when they would come up, but not on the side. Wow. Okay, cool.
So
Cool.
yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Okay, did I investigate the Amityville house?
Yes.
No, but actually, Pam Pam Berry's just asking that. That's another one of my very dear friends for many, many years. But I'm doing her event this year, and I'm excited.
I know, I'm so excited.
I am so excited. It's going to be a blast
excited.
being at the Eisenhower, and people, get your tickets. Come on out. We'll have a blast. Anyhow, she was asking about the Amityville house. Did I do the original investigation in there? No, but I was extremely fortunate that I lectured several times with George on Penn State campuses. I did a couple of conferences with him, and I always knew other information, again, that never came to the forefront. That was their choice on it. Now, I'm going to share a few of the things because the two Lutz boy or whatever they're Quarantino. I know they don't go under Lutz anymore.
Right.
Again, had revealed and let some of the information out. Now, did George know about the murders and everything? Yes. His
Everybody knew.
grandfather's company owned the surveying company that surveyed the piece of property when it was being listed. He used it as a good bargaining tool to be able to buy it and get the price knocked down. So yes, and they lived in the area. So how were they going to not know about it?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
Now,
I think the whole country knew about it, right? I mean,
right.
that was a big thing.
Yeah. Now, did the house get moved? Yes. Could it have been moved onto an quote ancient Indian burial ground? Yeah, because that's another running thing with me with my humor. When somebody calls me up and they go, "My house is built on an ancient Indian burial ground," I go, "Yeah, all our houses are." And they'll go, "What?" I'll go, "All our houses are." I
Yeah.
said, "They were here millions of years before us, so they're buried all over the place." So, but again, the house was moved. There were several murders that took place in there by DeFeo. DeFeo was involved with a lot of things. The family was aware of it. Do I think that there was an influence that caused some of that to transpire within the DeFeo family? Yeah, because there's things about the DeFeo family that never came out. So
Right.
again, and it's not my place to let stuff out. That's up to the families to do that. I will never do that. But again, a lot of this stuff was very well known. Now, George was into practicing. He went into meditations. He would do different things. I was aware of this, not from, you know, the boys, especially Chris, because I knew Chris well, telling me. I already had known about some of it from George
Right.
and from some of the stuff Ed would tell me about it. So, do I think Amityville per se was a true haunting? Yes. Do I think there's stuff that occurred in that house that none of us are ever going to know? Yes. Again, it's one of those great mysteries, but I did not do the original investigation in there.
Yeah.
The funny thing too is Ed and Lorraine didn't do the original investigation.
Right.
There were several other people that were involved with it. Hans Holzer, Alexandra's dad. Now, Alexandra Holzer and I are very good friends.
Mhm.
And the running joke with her and I is that Hans Holzer and my uncle, they hated each other with a passion. Hated each other. And I go, "Boy, can you see them now? You and I ended up becoming good friends." And her and I bust out laughing over that.
Yeah.
But, again, it's the nature of the whole thing. So when a lot of times when people say to me they think it was all made up and everything, I go, the books and the movies were on Amityville, just like they are with a lot of the other movies that are out there.
Right.
I'm used to it. This has been going on since day one when movies have been created. And, I would hear my aunt and uncle, getting ripped to shreds behind some of the movies from years prior before the Conjuring series would come out. So,
Yeah.
again, Hollywood is Hollywood. If there's any paranormal, supernatural movie that's out there that is 50% of factual things that occurred, that's amazing. That
Yeah.
would be amazing.
Right. What
So,
is your favorite paranormal or any type of movie in that genre, whether it be, movies, and I don't know what the genre would be for the movies like The Reich or this and that, or movies like, The Entity, or movies like, I'm old school, so I like the old school movies more, like The Others and What Lies Beneath and
yeah.
Dragonfly, I like all
Oh,
the, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, again, with in today's level of movies, believe it or not, I love The Conjuring one. I just love it.
The
It's
first one
it
was
was
really
the
good.
very first one. The effects, the scariness, and everything. I know so much of it is a disaster with them being on factual things. I love the Nun movies, the two
Mhm.
Nun movies that came out. Again, I can relate to some the different aspects to some of the parts that tie in with that. But one of them that's pretty much on course with certain things that I related to more than anything was the exorcism of Emily Rose.
That was a
I mean, what the priest went through, what the attorney went through, these things happen. they
Yeah.
occur. I mean, again, it's blown out of proportion, and that's another one. Everybody thought she died during the last exorcism, and that did not happen.
Didn't she
They,
starve to death?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and the two priests, and the mother and father, were charged with manslaughter in that.
Yeah.
But she actually willed herself to die. She didn't die during the exorcism. But a lot of people didn't know that until it started coming out, and they did the research and different things, and it came to the forefront.
Yeah.
But again, it's it's wild with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Now, what is my all time favorite are the golden oldies from the 50s. Oh, the haunted house on the hill. I love those old ones.
Yeah.
And you'll love this. I had met a relative at a gig that I was doing, right? And he comes up and he's talking to me and everything. He goes, "John, we're related." I go, "Oh, here we go again," right? So he starts coming out with all this different information, and I just stood there and I looked at him and I go, "There's no way he can know a lot of this, right?" So he's going back and forth. Anyways, the reason I'm talking about is then all of a sudden he blurts out and he goes, "Did you know Vincent Price was part of our family?" And I went, "What?" I go, "That's one of my favorite freaking, people." And now you're telling, he goes, "Yes." And he was explaining it to me, how it all tied in, how it went way back to during the colonies and everything. I looked up some of the information he gave me and I went, "Holy shit." I go, "I never knew all this." And it was on my grandmother and grandfather's side, on the other side of the family where it all tied. Anyways, who would ever think we were related to Vincent Price?
Listen, that's awesome because
I got the biggest kick out of that.
that's awesome. Thriller is my favorite song only because of the ending. That
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. I love it. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool little interesting fact.
I don't know if it's 100% true. I don't know. I don't have any, physical stuff to back it, but he said that to me, and all the other stuff he was coming up with, and I'm like, yeah, I said, "You're blowing my mind here, dude."
Wow, that is like that's cool. What a
Yeah.
cool relative, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, too, like I said, I just started some of the names that he just rattled off to me. I started researching and everything, and I went, "This is going right back to the freaking when it was the colonies." I said,
Wow.
"I thought we on both sides of my family we were just here a couple of generations." And he goes, "Oh no, John." That's how he explained it to me. And I went and looked and went, "Wow."
Wow. That is so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I won't answer this, but you can. What was your most shocking experience? Well, I think you answered that though. You said with the I guess when you were doing the haunting in Connecticut with the statue, would that be?
There, it's always difficult. I think the haunting in Connecticut brought more and actually verified more to me that there are the full materializations of things that transpired on a dark side. Um, I'm trying. You know what? One of my most shocking one, and it's the craziest thing. It was Debbie and Larry Eldward and myself. It was years back, and this person had contacted Father Larry to have an exorcism done. So I went to go help them, and the guy was very influential. He sat there. He was doing the exorcism and the deliverance prayers over him and everything, and his eyes changed. They turned into these reptilian looking eyes. All right, I'm watching this and it's going back and forth. He didn't move, he didn't flinch, nothing happened. He got done and he was blinking and his eyes went back to normal. So I'm like, "Oh, this dude got these weird contact lenses in, right?"
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right.
So, anyways, so what do I do after that? I got a couple of friends that are eye doctors. I call them up. I go, "Can you roll those contact lenses down?" They go, "No." They go, "You cannot roll them under and then push them back up like that by opening it." I went, "Holy shit," like that, right?
Wow.
You know, so then I'm talking to a couple of my other mutual friends about it, and a couple of clergy friends, and I went. I still can't believe I saw that. I
Wow.
said I'm still blown away by that. That I and they and what I got confirmed by several different spiritual people was that he was what you would refer to as pure, true possession.
Wow.
He was truly 100%. So he didn't need to act anything out. He didn't need to waste his energy. I said, well, so all he did was look. And I said, he had a grin. Do you know, every one of them said the same thing to me. They go, you didn't stare into his eyes, did you? And I went, no. And they go, that would have been the worst thing you could have ever done. I'm
Hmm.
like, why? They go, you might have fought. He was that strong and that powerful.
Wow.
I said, now that freaked me out because
Yeah.
I was like, all right. And I had all these, spiritual people telling me that. Not just priests, but other ones too, saying, don't do that because then, I said, well, I looked, but I didn't continuously stare. I said, I don't do that with anybody we're working with on that level.
Yeah.
But anyways,
That's
that's just,
freaky.
that's it.
That would freak me
You're getting a couple of stories out of me I usually don't talk about.
out. Well, I thank you. um, let me see here. There's some other questions, but while I'm doing this, Gina Bankston was on. I don't think she's on anymore, which that stinks because I saw something up here. She was talking about to ask you about the exorcism you were involved in, but I think that was the Connecticut haunting in Connecticut. I don't know. She said, where did it go? Oh, she said, where was it? Tarrant. Here it is. Ask him about the exorcism he was a part of.
It depends on which exorcism she's talking about because
Yeah.
there's been a lot of them I've been involved with over the course of years.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it could be one of them I could have been talking about when I was lecturing or something at one point in time. So I'm not quite sure which one she's asking about.
Let me see here. And there's another one. This is a good one. Do you have any kind of protection from these haunted objects?
I believe very strongly, and when any of my spiritual friends come over, I make them work. Whether it's a binding, prayers, humming, chanting, anything on a positive. Come on in, do your thing, kumbaya. I'm a happy camper with all that.
Okay.
Now, with me, I go by my Catholicism. I will do my prayers. I will use my salt. I will use my holy water. And I have a few things set up that I do with these items before I even bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for me, that's how I go about it. But I love it, when I have, one of my Native American friends or something come over and when they start doing their mojo and doing the different things, it is the coolest freaking thing in the world to watch. It
Yeah.
really is. It's amazing. So
Now, do you ever feel a difference, like a shift, like, from, when you first bring something in, and then when you have people come over and do their thing, do you ever feel a shift in the energy in the place to, where you feel pretty good that what they did is kind of binding it to where it's at and you're good?
I would say I will feel lighter. It could feel a little bit lighter. But what amazes me about with a lot of the when people come in or people will pick up on different things and get different things and I'll be like, oh, okay, because 99% of the time I just don't feel or sense anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm very desensitized to a lot of stuff now.
Yeah.
It
I'm
takes a
sure
lot.
my, yeah.
If you call me up and start telling me, okay, yeah, we'll do what we can. If you tell me your house is levitating and spinning and Dorothy just flew out the front door, I'm over there. I'm over there in a heartbeat because I haven't seen that. So again, it takes a lot for me to, you know what I mean, to really, I understand it, I believe it, I know they're going through it, but like I said, when you see a lot of things and you experience a lot of things, you view it differently. It's the best way I could put it to you.
Yeah.
You just view things a lot differently.
Like, so the I don't know how to ask this, but like, we imagine a haunted house having, like, for lack of better description, a ghost walking around that we can't see, right?
Hmm.
Couldn't a haunted house also be in the same category as a haunted object or an item because the house is just that?
Okay. Now, there's two different categories to put things into, because people will say to me, I got a possessed house. Not necessarily. The only thing that could be possessed is people and animals.
Mhm.
Property, land, and items have more of what we would call an attachment, to it, because it can't actually be possessed.
Okay.
So again, if you're dealing with a ritual site or something of that nature, again, it's something I'm going to view and look at a little bit differently than I would with possession with a person or something,
Mhm.
or animals. So no, I look at both of them differently and handle those types of things differently.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Animals. Possessed animals?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Animals can't
Really?
be. Yeah. Well, if you stop and
I guess
think about
food,
it,
yeah.
many years ago, it's alleged that Jesus actually cast out the demons into the swine, and they ran into the ocean.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I
Have
mean,
you ever dealt with a possessed animal?
actually, a pig.
Really?
That's another. That's another whole crazy
Oh my
story.
gosh, how the heck?
Anyways, this woman had a pig. I don't know. I'm gonna call it Arnold. I don't remember what his freaking name was. But the thing was treated like a child and part of the family. It had its own bedroom in the house.
Oh my
All right.
god.
Anyways, we go around and everything. The pig hated me. The pig didn't like me.
Oh, well,
And
there's a reason.
you know, I kept telling my uncle, I go, that freaking pig don't like me. I go, it starts snorting and everything else at me when it looks at me. So, anyways, we were there one night and we were talking to the woman, and we were explaining to her that father was going to be over in the morning, and she would tell the pig to go up into its bedroom, and it would do it. It would go up into his bedroom. But anyway, the pig got upset and it came down. It was standing in the hallway going, and it was looking right at me. And I was with a couple of the other researchers, and I went, "That effing pig's going to come after me."
Oh my gosh.
And it did. It charged right down the hallway. I jumped up onto the kitchen table.
Oh
So
my.
yes, I have dealt with a possessed pig. Anyhow,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean, there were three of us there that night that happened, and everybody said the same thing. They went, "That was too freaky not to believe."
Like,
Um,
that's gotta be difficult though to because usually with like I'm assuming I've like again, I've never dealt with anything like that, but a person, with a person, you're talking to that person and they're understanding what's going on in you know what I mean, as much as they can at that particular moment. So with an animal, how do you
they can't tell you. I
tell?
mean, yeah. Um, when it comes into animals, and if there's anything wrong and something is transpiring, most of us have that sense to us that there's something wrong.
Right,
They got a way of letting their owners know something is wrong, because the running joke without throughout the years, and I really shouldn't say a running joke, but we always say the best investigators are dogs, cats, and birds,
right,
because they'll react immediately.
right,
That's part of their senses. They use that sixth sense to be able to help protect themselves.
right, right.
So here again, when something does occur with a pet or something like that, especially if I got spiritual people with me, I'll just tell them, can you,
Help
you
it
know,
out.
yeah, help, just
Understand.
do your prayers or do something just in case there is something with that. And then
Yeah.
if the person calls me back and goes, you know what, my pet calmed down, I go, well, what got done hopefully helped them.
Do you find though that sometimes it comes from the owner or somebody living in the house? Like,
When it comes into the pets, it's very difficult.
I'm sure, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a difficult one,
Yeah,
unless they're in an environment, or
right.
there's something transpiring in the house and there's something occurring. It's a good possibility.
Yeah. Um, I want you to tell everybody, before we go, some of the places you're going to be coming up, and what do you got going on? is there anything in the works or anything going on?
Well,
With,
yeah, mainly with me. I do still doing a few of my college and university lectures. I
oh,
do a few this time of the year. Then, we got a lot of the conventions coming up. Looking very forward to being down in Gettysburg at the Bash, New Jersey Paracon. I do that every year. Michigan Paracon, I do that every year. This year, I'm going to be doing the Ohio State one. I mean, I think everybody and their brothers booked on that one also.
yeah,
So, those are the major ones, and there's several smaller events that I do here in between with everything. I don't like being out every weekend. I don't like
yeah,
investing. I'm kind of to the point now where if I have to go out every weekend to do something, it's just I don't want to do it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's funny you were saying the colleges because Megan says when Ed and Lorraine talked at my university each year, they would
Uh,
start with some of the light and cute ghost stories, and then it got very dark. She said, oh. So yeah, I,
uh,
um, and this was another thing that I found out about them that I didn't know about, is that Steve Gonzalez from Ghost Hunters, I had him on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how he eventually got to do some stuff with them. You know what I mean? And I guess they came to his school as well. That was when he first saw them.
there's a universe. Okay, wait. I have to stop and think because, yeah, Steve and I are good friends, and I could still remember back in the day, he had gone to one of their lectures, and I believe it was at a university.
Yeah,
And again, too, he had talked about that later on when him and I had met, and because he always used to call me Mr. Zaffis. I said, "You freaking call me Mr. Zaffis one more time." And that was so hard for him to break that. And he goes, "I still remember, they were there and you were with them."
yeah,
And he was, I can't remember where it was, or it was someplace here in the Connecticut area, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
yeah. He talks about it in his book, and he was saying about how if he'd have thought that he was ever going to be working with the you and what I mean, this and that, he's like I never would have believed it.
You know what? One of the coolest things about Steve is every year he'll say to me, he goes, "John," and I go, "Yes, Steve." He goes, "I wait for you to post your Christmas pictures."
Me too.
He
I was just
goes,
going to say that.
he goes, and I looked at him and I went, "What?" He goes, "You put everybody in the Christmas spirit with those pictures." He goes, "You turn into a little kid with that." I go, "Yes, I do. I do. I do." And it was last year I was telling him, I go, "Yeah, but what makes me even more happier now?" And he goes, "What's that?" I go, "We got 6 little ones back in the family now. Our
That's so
nieces and
awesome.
nephews are all having the kids,
Yeah,
so the babies are back around and everything." So
that's so
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So, and he goes, "Every year I wait for that." And I went, "Oh my gosh, what a cool thing to get." And I just grabbed him and hugged him, and I went, "Oh my gosh, you just made my day." He goes,
Yeah,
"John, everybody waits for that every year."
I'm
And
telling you.
so I just laughed, but it's a cool thing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I was just gonna say that, how much I love all your pictures you put up. I follow it. You start it and you start. I mean, you and your wife both love doing it together, and I just love that. I love,
Oh, that's
yeah,
again, both of us are home now because again, well, she still we both have our other little jobs that we do, but it's a cool thing, that we do it. And the running joke is that freaking tree. We got that freaking tree. She gets so aggravated with me if I go to decorate it or anything because I clump stuff. And she goes, "Don't touch the freaking tree. Don't touch the tree. Don't touch the tree." Now, the funny thing is, this year I was home this one day, right? And I'm looking at the tree because she does a little bit of,
yeah.
it's a big monstrous tree, right? I said, "I'm gonna decorate that freaking thing," right? Because she was out working that day, right? So I went and I'm looking and I'm organizing it and putting them all on it and everything. And I worked on it for like 7 freaking hours, right? So she came in and we were sitting down to eat and everything. She looked over at the tree. She looked back at me. She got up from the table and she went in. She's looking all around the tree and everything. She came back down and sat down. And I go, "Well," she goes, "You didn't clump anything." because I never thought about it until she kept telling me. She goes, "You put 3 or 4 ornaments on one branch, and it looks ridiculous." And I thought about it, and I go, "All right, well." But I gave it a shot this time, helping her this year on the tree, and it worked out kind of good.
Which is
Kind of.
it's I love it, but I don't see the same affinity for Halloween unless I miss that. I see that.
Uh,
Yeah,
I miss doing it, but I don't do Halloween because there's no kids here.
yeah.
We live in a cul-de-sac, and we're all the way down at the end. Kids don't come to the house. And all the kids are grown up and everything, so I don't usually put any of my. You wouldn't believe the amount of Halloween decorations I have because I'm out lecturing. I'm usually at
Yeah,
universities,
that's true. Yeah,
colleges, especially the last couple of weeks of the month of October. I'm just like,
yeah,
out on the road. I mean,
yeah,
it used to be September to November, but I don't want to do that anymore. Be out on the road that
yeah.
much.
No, I
So
don't blame you. I mean,
yeah,
especially doing for as long as you have.
yeah. So I get again. I cut back on that, but no, that's my whole thing. And the running joke was this year because a lot of the kids were standing around and everything. I go, Auntie Cheryl and I are going to get to the point where we're not going to be able to do this anymore. And it was like everybody was freaking out, and they go, "Is something wrong with Uncle Johnny? Something wrong with Uncle? Why is he saying that? Why is he saying that?" And I busted out laughing. I go, "Well, you know what?" I go, "After a while, you get tired of doing all that stuff."
Well, I don't think that the family would be the only ones upset about it. I think all of us see, getting everybody in the Christmas spirit. We would be like, "What? No, you're not. No, you're not." We'll all assemble and go to your house and help you. No, we'll do it. We'll help you guys do it.
Thank you.
Well, John, I literally have had you for an hour and 25 minutes already. And I literally thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And, one of my favorite guests I've had on. So I want to thank you so much for
Well,
spending some
thank you.
time with us. And I look forward to seeing you soon, you know?
Looking
Uh,
forward to it. Thanks for having me on. It was a great show. We got to talk about stuff I normally don't talk about.
yeah, that's
So
cool.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, I
That's
love
a good
that.
thing.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad to see, after I realized that was there, I didn't realize I wasn't logging on. I was trying to figure out where is everybody, right?
Yeah.
Then I hit it. I didn't. So glad to see everybody show up for
Oh,
your
yeah.
show. That's
Look,
great.
Andy just reminded me of something really quick. I'm sorry. I know we were saying goodbye, but so the theme is Christmas in July at the bash. So it's like you're gonna be because they're gonna decorate for Christmas. It's all kind of Christmassy stuff. So you're gonna have an early Christmas. That is the theme. Yes. Yep.
We might have to take that a step farther.
I'm sure Pam would be all ears on that.
I'm going to get a phone call from her. Trust me, I will. She go, "What are you thinking? What are you up to?"
Yes,
Cool.
we're all looking for. We love it. We love it.
But
So
no, I didn't know that.
yes, that's the theme. Christmas in July. Yep.
Wait a minute. Yes, because the banner's like that, right? The banner has. Don't pay attention to me. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
That is
So
so cool. That is so
no, that's
cool.
gonna be that's gonna be awesome for you. You're gonna have an early Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good to me. Love it.
John, I'll let you go. Again, thank
Okay.
you so much. I love you. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Same here, my friend. And good night, everybody. Thanks for having me on. Take
Good
care.
night.
Bye.
Well, that was amazing. Thank you, everybody, for being so awesome. And I did try to get to everybody's questions, and I think I mostly did. But yeah, so that was great. That was an awesome show. I was so happy he finally came on. And when I say finally, I mean I finally was able to get up the courage to ask him to come on, and he was just so amazing. You guys saw it. So I will catch you guys out next week. But again, thank you so much for joining me. And I will see you guys next week. I do have a couple of cool guests coming up. The Wraith Chasers will be coming on. I got Tim Shaw coming on. I have like so many people coming up. I think I'm booked through April. So make sure you guys check all of it out. And I love all my brewskis. Thank you guys. Mwah.